You're watching USPN, the U.S. Pipe Network.
Hello, everyone, and welcome to USPN Primetime. I'm Chris Vaughn alongside Michelle Brody and Jim Hooper. Guys, a busy week or what?
Awesome.
It was crazy, Chris. I haven't seen a week like this since the construction boom of the mid-90s.
We had more guys laying in more DIP than I have seen in years. And seriously, I started to call the Alabama plants and ask them if they were running out of scrap yet.
My office at the city has been swamped with permit requests really since the spring. It's incredible to see so much happening, but it's wonderful.
Well, economic rebound.
Oh, absolutely. People are building, cities are growing.
Seriously, God bless our economy.
We've got a great show for you today, folks. We'll recap the entire week in construction. We've got Ellen Watkins and Ben Gardner out on the field in a couple of installations. We'll be checking in with them later. We have both the M03 and M94 hydrants up for discussion. We'll also be talking about horizontal directional drilling, but when we return, we'll talk about the innovative new MJ Field Lock gasket, so don't go anywhere. We'll be back after a word from our sponsors.
USPN Primetime is brought to you in part by Protecto 401 ceramic epoxy lining. With industry-leading resistance to abrasion, undercutting, and chemical attack, Protecto 401 is the last word in protective linings for ductile iron pipe. You can count on Protecto 401.
Welcome back. We've got a great show for you today, but first, let's get caught up on the week. It was another good week for ductile iron pipe with near record numbers of new orders and installations from throughout the country. In fact, U.S. pipe manufacturing facilities report heavy production schedules over the next few weeks, and of course, they'll just get busier and busier as more utilities take advantage of the proven track record of ductile iron. On Tuesday, in Las Cruces, New Mexico, city planners were given the go-ahead for a large city sewer expansion, and it looks like they'll be using Protecto 401 line pipe and fittings. This expansion, which involves more than 16 miles of ductile iron pipe, has long been on the city planners' wish list, and it looks like they're about ready to move forward. You know, Protecto 401 is quickly becoming the dominant protective lining in the industry.
20 years of service without one reported failure.
It's also a very good week for the web-savvy and online novices like myself, who like to do their homework before they jump in on big projects. U.S. Pipe announced at a press conference on Thursday they'll be expanding the website yet again, this time with the addition of an industry first, an online submittal engine that will allow both distributors and contractors to generate U.S. Pipe product submittals easily, quickly, and online. No printing necessary.
Well, you know, it all boils down to this. We're just trying to make it easier for our customers to do business with us than with our competitors. So the submittal engine, the website, it's all a part of that larger goal. Next question.
The new submittal engine is live and online this week. Check it out at uspipe.com. And that ties in pretty well with a later segment as we have a member of the web development team who's going to stop by and walk us through some of the more interesting features of the new website. It should be a lot of fun.
Well, I know people don't usually associate our industry with high technology, but I would say that the internet is the perfect communication tool for anybody.
So are you an internet user, Michelle?
I love it. I'm constantly online in my office. In fact, I'm under pressure to keep up on the industry just like anybody else, so I find that the web is a perfect way for me to keep up on new products.
And speaking of new products, the big news around the water industry these days is the MJ Field Lock gasket.
You know what? I was just reading about that on that little screen that popped up on our last break. Now, I've heard about it, Chris, but I got to be very honest with you. I've never really seen one, but from here they look like a Field Lock 350.
Well, yes and no, Jim. Yes and no. It's actually a rubber gasket with stainless steel teeth embedded in the rubber on the inside.
You see, you act like you automatically know that, but we all know that you're reading it off that little screen right there.
Well, Jim, the ability to read is important in modern society. In fact, I recommend it.
Ooh, ouch, that hurt, seriously.
Okay, boys, back to the topic, MJ Field Lock.
Thanks, Michelle. The MJ Field Lock and the Field Lock 350 are similar, but there are significant differences. The hardness of the rubber, the way the segments are designed, the way they engage the pipe, the design of the gasket itself. But, biggest difference, anyone want to guess?
I got it. The MJ Field Lock comes in assorted fruit flavors.
Negative, Michelle.
Field Lock 350 is for push-on joint connections, and MJ Field Lock is for mechanical joint fitting connections.
Marry me.
I knew that.
Exactly. Completely different applications.
And that's an entirely new way of thinking about restraining fittings. I mean, usually you see those heavy old lug-type restraints.
That's right, or concrete thrust blocks.
Concrete thrust blocks. That sounds painful.
Come to think of it, it does sound painful.
What are concrete thrust blocks?
Well, I know, but I think it's time for Mr. Hooper to gain some credibility. Jim?
Right. I do know this. Now, joint restraint is when you have to counter the force exerted on the interior of a fitting when you have a bend or a change of direction, okay? Now, the water is going to push on the back edge of that fitting, and that could force the connection apart. So you got to do something to keep the connection together. And what you do is you pour concrete behind the fitting, and everything stays right where it is. Concrete thrust block.
So the MJ Field Lock accomplishes the same thing, but from the inside.
Exactly. And you know, the gasket isn't the only new thing about the product. It comes packaged with a high-performance, highly engineered gland called the MJ Field Lock gland. I think we have a picture of it. Now, the typical C153 gland had a tendency to bend during product testing. So, the design engineers came up with an extremely strong and rigid gland that generally doesn't weigh any more than the C153.
I don't know, guys. All this new stuff, I'd have to see it to believe it.
Well, Jim, we can do that for you right now. We've got our very own Ben Gardner out in the field. He's in Palm Bay, Florida on a project where they're using MJ Field Locks. In fact, earlier today, they used them to install a 45-degree fitting. Hey, Ben, are you with us?
Yeah, I'm right here, Chris.
Yeah, how did it go out there today, Ben?
Oh, it went great. What we did was we had to install a 6-inch ductile iron pipeline into a pre-existing water line. And what they did is they used the new state-of-the-art MJ Field Lock gaskets to connect that 45-degree bend right there. So you can see what we did was, first they had to install the gland, it's already on top of there, and then they put the MJ Field Lock right on there, and then they attached the fitting, and you see how easy they just slide that MJ Field Lock right up against the fitting and then attach the gland to the fitting. You know how much time this saves? It is amazing, Chris.
Yeah. Hey, Ben, we're getting a little resistance from the old school here in the studio. Any idea how long the installation would have taken using typical joint restraint?
Yeah, actually I asked them that, Chris. They said it would have taken twice as long with a lug restraint system. And so it's not hard to see why this thing's become so popular. I mean, it's a no-brainer. It flat out saves time. And in this business, we all know, Chris, time is money.
Yeah, and all the other cliches. There you have it, Jim, straight from the trench. And that's been the result all across the country. You ready to accept?
Well, I know I'm not in as many trenches as I used to be. And I know I don't fit in them like I used to either.
I think you're better off here with us. That's Ben Gardner out in the field in Palm Bay, Florida, where they're using MJ Field Locks. As always, Ben, thanks so much.
Thank you, Chris.
Coming up next, we have both the M03 and M94 hydrants up for discussion. Stick around, we'll be right back.
USPN Primetime is brought to you in part by US Pipe's Field Flange 350 fittings. Perfect for a fast fix in the field. Learn more about Field Flange 350 fittings and other US Pipe products at uspipe.com.
Welcome back. Folks, I got to tell you, these two have been arguing like a couple of schoolgirls since we went away. Now, I wouldn't bring it up, but it is what we're supposed to be talking about, fire hydrants. A couple of grown adults and they're arguing about hydrants.
I'm just saying that sometimes change can be good.
Right. But why would you go and change something when it's working just fine? Industry standard is not industry standard for no reason. It's industry standard because it works.
Listen, let me jump in before we lose our audience. I'll try to clear this up. U.S. Pipe manufactures two different hydrants, the M03, which Jim is fond of installing, and the M94, completely different animal, but with some terrific design elements.
Well, I'm a big fan of the M94 because they've really thought through how to improve on a classic design in a lot of ways. And to me, innovation means progress.
All right, Jim, I know you have a long history with this type of hydrant design. What is it about the M03?
Well, Chris, it's not the M03 itself. It's the design. This is what hydrants are about, okay? Now, this is what you do when you work on these big boys. You need a three-quarter inch socket.
Jim, let me stop you right there. Hey, Chris, Joe, can you bring the hydrants in? Great. Now, we brought a couple of hydrants in, if you guys don't mind.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't mind at all.
Now, look, I know how you feel about these things, so I thought we'd bring them in and let you talk about what you think makes them special.
Michelle, this is a hydrant. Now, no offense, but how many of these bad boys have you worked on?
Well, Jim, why don't you just go ahead and pop the top off that sucker there?
More than glad to.
Michelle apparently confident enough to give Jim a head start.
You know, that's just not right.
Hey, have a good time with your industry standard.
Oh, boy. Well, you know what hath no fury like a woman scorned.
Piece of cake. Didn't even chip a nail.
How about you, Jim?
I don't even have nails.
No, Jim, the hydrant. Are you rethinking your allegiance?
Absolutely not. Well, okay, maybe just a little. You know, the M94, it's a good hydrant.
Lots of towns are using it. It's been approved for use in cities and towns all over the country. Very popular in the eastern U.S. I just like how fast and easy it is to work on.
Okay, I'll give you that. I mean, there's not much choice there. But familiarity counts too. I mean, just about every hydrant maintenance and repair crew in the country knows how to operate the M03.
Listen. We could argue about this all day and never resolve anything. Let's leave it at this. The M03 and M94, two distinctly different hydrants, both with a lot to recommend them. Fair?
Fair.
Fair.
Well, Jim, I hate to add insult to injury, but our next topic is another innovation.
It's not that stupid salad shooter thing, is it?
No. Welded outlets. You know, ease of assembly has always been a high priority with the technical service folk at US Pipe. But on some projects, statically cast fittings are not always the best option. On big diameter jobs, they can be expensive, and lead times aren't always what we need them to be. But US Pipe has come up with a new way to deal with this classic dilemma. Earlier this week, Ellen Watkins was at the manufacturing plant in Bessemer, Alabama, and she found out how US Pipe is revolutionizing the world of welded outlets. She filed this report.
U.S. Pipe has been an innovator in the water industry for more than 100 years. One of their newest innovations is helping contractors address some of the challenges they meet in the field every day. Fittings have long been an industry standard, but for certain large diameter jobs, the expense and the long lead times have contractors looking for an alternative.
That alternative is right here. Welded outlets are faster to manufacture and can be a lot less costly when compared with a massive custom cast. Well, US Pipe is revolutionizing the industry with a new process for manufacturing welded outlets. It's all happening right here at the pipe fabrication shop in Bessemer, Alabama, and it's sure to save contractors time and money.
As the name implies, these outlets are welded right into the parent pipe. Seems simple enough, right? Not so fast.
Ductile iron is a fairly unique material, and it actually changes its microstructure when exposed to large amounts of heat. it's generally not a good thing. It'll greatly reduce the strength of the ductile iron. We've developed a new welding process where we are able to put smaller fillets onto our wells and reduce that heat input into the ductile iron, which we end up with a stronger product.
Not only has US Pipe made this technology work, they've made it work fast. Lead times for welded outlets are much shorter than for traditional fittings. That means customers' orders are filled quickly and projects can be finished sooner. Welded outlets are also available in a wide selection of sizes and configurations, providing a lot of flexibility in the field.
The advantages of a welded outlet are the elimination of fittings. You eliminate the expense of a fitting. Very often you eliminate the waiting time for a fitting as well. US Pipe's approach to large diameter pipe design has always been to assist the designer and the end user in eliminating fittings, and welded outlets give us another opportunity to eliminate branch fittings, commonly called crosses or T's.
Welded outlets will never replace cast fittings, but when the job calls for them, you can count on the US Pipe team to do them up right. In Bessemer, Alabama, I'm Ellen Watkins for Primetime.
Awesome.
You know, I actually toured that facility about 6 months ago, and I want to tell you something seriously. They made me a believer.
Is that right? Now, are welded outlets truly revolutionary?
Well, Chris, the outlets themselves are not revolutionary because US Pipe has been doing welded on bosses for years. In this particular case, it's not the product that's new, it's the process. And like the man said, welding ductile iron to ductile iron weld, it ain't easy. And the technical guys at Bessemer have come up with a whole new way of doing it.
Patent pending.
Patent pending, that's right. Did you take that tour too?
I drove us there from the airport, Jim.
Yeah, that's right.
Okay, well, not revolutionary, but it is a huge innovation.
Absolutely. Faster, more efficient, anything that adds up to lower total project cost is good news to my crowd.
Of course. Well, speaking of your crowd, Michelle, it's time once again for the politics of pipe. This time every week we go to our own Michelle Brody, who has an industry perspective on a hot button topic. This week we're talking about privatization in the water industry.
Water. We all need it. And in a manner of speaking, we all own it. But more and more publicly owned water systems are looking to the private sector to help bring costs down while keeping quality and reliability up. Should the increase in privatization of our water supply make citizens feel better or worse when they turn on the tap? Our public water systems have a tremendous track record of providing quality water at a low price, maybe too low in fact, because increasingly tough water quality regulations, along with new security concerns, have driven costs up at a faster pace than many systems can keep up with. In response, some large water systems have outsourced some or all of their operations to the private sector. The idea is that the profit motive inherent in these long-term agreements will provide sufficient motivation to maintain high water quality, but at the same time keep costs to a minimum. It could spell trouble, or it could spell additional budget relief for local government agencies. Privatization proponents typically believe that no governmental agency can operate as efficiently as a private company, and that public officials should welcome the financial help that they believe privatization offers in addressing our water and sewer infrastructure needs. On the other hand, opponents express concerns that the environment will suffer if profit becomes more important than protecting our natural resources, and also worry about the lack of public control over such precious a resource as water. Obviously, this is a complex issue, but in the end it comes down to this: who can best provide clean water and protect our natural resources at a cost that keeps water rates at a reasonable level? The unflinching eye of government or the invisible hand of the free market? This debate isn't going to end anytime soon, and you can bet that we'll be here to keep you updated. Chris?
Thank you very much. Michelle Brody on privatization in the water industry. Now, when we return, we'll be taking a look at the use of horizontal directional drilling in some unique and complex applications. And a very special guest, Mr. Rob Bennett, will join us to take us on a guided tour through the new US Pipe website. All that and more, so stay with us.
USPN Primetime is brought to you in part by the new MJ Field Lock Gasket. First, the Feel Lock 350 gasket revolutionized joint restraint for push-on joint connections. Now, the MJ Feel Lock gasket is doing the same for mechanical joint fittings. No thrust blocks, no heavy lugs to tighten, no problem. Learn more about the MJ Field Lock at mjfieldlock.com.
Welcome back, everyone. Horizontal directional drilling. Horizontal directional drilling, or HDD, is the most common trenchless method used for installing new water lines. It's a process where you drill horizontally underground, sometimes around or even under an obstruction, such as a creek or another pipe, and then you pull the lengths of pipe back through the hole you've already drilled. It's a very cool process and very interesting to watch.
Well, it's interesting. I'll give you that.
Have you ever worked on an HDD job?
No. Really, I haven't. I guess I'm just a trench-type guy by nature, Chris.
But you have to admit that there are times when it would be better than tearing up a driveway or golf courses.
Oh, I don't know, Michelle. You know, most guys find it very satisfying to take a jackhammer and smash up a driveway and then dig a trench underneath all that rubble.
Of course you would say that.
No, I was just kidding. I'm just kidding. I like digging trenches because, well, you can see the joints go together, and you know they're going to stay together. And I don't like having to use plastic pipe just so I can drill under something.
Yeah, but that's not the case anymore, right?
It isn't?
No, the plastic pipe. You can use ductile iron now.
You can?
Yes, you can. In fact, US Pipe has published established guidelines on how to do it with TR Flex. Well, it's very advanced stuff. It's restrained joint piping.
You know, I swear, you guys are going to come in next week with spaceships and ray guns. I know you're going to do it.
We're a little outside your comfort zone now, Jim?
Well, I'll tell you what I am comfortable with. I'm comfortable with digging a trench and putting down my ductile iron. Drilling sideways underground just sounds like too much trouble to me, buddy.
Well, all else being equal, it is more trouble than just digging a trench, but you have no idea the definition of trouble until you've torn up a major intersection to lay a water line. People will call you, and they'll call you things you had no idea existed.
Yeah, there's a name for that, too. What's it called?
It's called social cost. It's basically the negative impact on a community from the delays and the chaos that construction can bring. The social cost of an installation like that could be a huge headache, but they could be doing HDD in an established residential area, and half the homeowners would not even know that they were there.
Well, good timing for that, because right now we have our very own Ellen Watkins on an HDD installation in Atlanta, Georgia, in a not-so-established residential area. Let's see if we can get her to show us HDD up close and personal. Hey, Ellen, how's the weather down there?
It's hot out here, Chris.
Come on, we just saw you in a foundry a couple minutes ago.
Yeah, I know. I think it was actually cooler inside that foundry than it is out here today.
Okay, Ellen, tell us what we're looking at. Set the scene.
Well, what we've got here, Chris, is an expansion of an existing subdivision. Down there around that bend, we've actually got $500,000 homes with existing roadways and existing driveways. They don't want to mess that up for all those people, so they're going to tunnel right underneath them. And they started prepping the site today and installing the drill rig, and they delivered all the DIP. In fact, if you look down there, you can see some of the sections of pipe.
Yeah. What's the next step down there?
I believe the next step is they're going to fire up that drill rig and get started.
It's like the Great Escape, right?
Exactly.
Ellen, how exactly do they keep the pieces together while they're going through?
Actually, they drill the entire distance, and then they feed a cable all the way through. They grab the first section, they pull it in, and then they grab the second section and they pull it through.
Ellen, I think what she's asking is what sort of joint restraint are they using down there?
Oh, I believe they spec'd TR Flex, the ones with the little black and red locking segments.
Was there ever any doubt?
Insufferable.
Well, the lady knows her pipe.
You see, they don't recommend using field locks for this application.
Hey, they fired up the drill rigs, guys. They're starting to drill.
Ellen, I know it's a mess, but do you think you can get down any closer to the installation?
Yeah, sure. I think we can get down there.
Okay, we'll be back in a few minutes. Thanks, Ellen.
Thank you, Chris.
While the lovely Miss Watkins climbs down into the mud pit that is the work site, we've got a special treat for you. The World Wide Web, Michelle's playground. You know, US Pipe has always been an innovator, so it's only fitting that... Did you get that? Fitting?
The day job, Chris.
That was pretty good, Chris.
Okay, it's only natural that they would also be an innovator in getting information to their customers. The US Pipe website has always been an outstanding educational resource. We have a little video right now. This is a promo for the website that's running on the network. Let's take a look.
Wow, more than just pipe indeed.
And we have a very special guest with us here today. Everybody, this is Rob Bennett from the web development team in Orlando. Welcome.
Thank you.
I've spent some time on the US Pipe site. It's nice work.
Thank you. We put a lot into it.
It's very intuitive, very informative.
Now, when you're starting a site like this, what's the process? I mean, how do you decide what you're going to do?
It's always different. Each website is customized to the client, so we have to figure out the balance of information, interactivity, and design. With the current site, they already have a lot of these in place, so we just focused on coming up with a new look and feel for the website to keep it interesting. And then we sat down with the US Pipe team to figure out exactly what they needed.
Okay, well, what did they find that they needed?
Primarily information. People come to the website to learn.
Does it have any games on it?
No, not really.
What exactly is the submittal engine?
The submittal engine is a utility. It's like a mini application for the contractors and distributors. You enter the information about the project, the engineer, and what US Pipe products you're using. And then the submittal engine generates a PDF document with everything you need. It's got a cover sheet, product information, and then you could email the document directly to the engineer, or you could simply print it out online.
Wow, that's unbelievable. We always ask for 8 copies of submittals, and we get a lot of complaints about all the busy work that involves.
All right, Rob, what's your favorite part of the site?
Oh, definitely the animations. We have fully interactive 3D animations that show the assembly instructions of our 6 main products.
Hey, Mark, do we have that clip? I believe we have one of the animations in question right there.
Wow, that's cool.
Yeah, and they also have voiceovers.
Wow, look at that 3D. I mean, it looks like you could just reach right into the screen and grab it and just pop it right in your mouth.
Rob, very impressive stuff.
Thank you very much.
Rob Bennett from the web development team in Orlando, as always, thank you.
Thank you.
Let's go back and see if we can catch up with Ellen now in Atlanta. Hey, Ellen, are you there?
Yeah, I'm here, Chris.
Hey, Ellen, looks like you might have fallen into mud a bit.
Yeah, it does look like that, doesn't it?
Okay, well, what can you see down there?
Well, I can see you clean in the studio, Chris.
What can you see on the job site?
Oh, on the job site? Well, I can see a fair amount of dirt and mud and filth.
Okay, how's the drilling going?
It's going great. Really, really great.
Okay, Ellen Watkins on an HDD installation in Atlanta.
It's been great talking to you, Chris. Really, really great talking to you.
Okay, we're going to take a break, but stay with us. We'll be back to wrap up the week and let you know what we have to look forward to next week, so please don't go away. Well, folks, at the end of one heck of a week, that's our show. Make sure you join us next week. Michelle's going to weigh in on a surprising new development in the water industry that's sprung up in recent months. Get it? Sprung?
Somebody stop him. Just roll the credits or something.
Okay. It's arisen in recent months and has us rethinking the way we approach corrosion control for ductile iron pipe. And finally, Ellen Watkins is at Jordan-Hare Stadium at Auburn University, where they're using HDD technology to drill under the stadium. You're not going to want to miss it. For USPN Primetime, I'm Chris Vaughn alongside Jim Hooper and Michelle Brody. We'll see you next week.